Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our backyard. This morning's video is about 4 of the 6 vining plants that I have. And the reason I'm going to talk about 4 of them is they're high performers in the summertime, and they're actually flourishing in this heat, and they are pollinator friendly. So the first one I'd like to talk about is passion vine. And as you can see here, I've got a couple of different passion vines. This one is a native passion vine. You can see the kind of light lavender colored flower. It's a small, delicate flower. And it is native to Texas, and the leaves, interestingly enough, if I can get over here, are a little bit fuzzy, and so it's called the cotton leaf passion vine, and it is very much a prolific passion vine. The other one I have is called incense, and it is a hybrid cross that does very well down south. And the reason it does so well, it is root hardy to some pretty cold temperatures. It's one of the hardiest passion vines there is. And this has a beautiful purple flower. These flowers don't open until a little bit later in the morning, but they're just gorgeous. And this passion vine produces fruit, and so I have and you can eat this fruit. It's not great tasting, it's not bad, but the reason I have these passion vines is it is a host plant to let me get the Gulf fritillary. And the Gulf fritillary is a really pretty 2 to 3 inch butterfly, orange butterfly, and the host plant here is the passion vine. And so I have 3 types of passion vines. These 2 are doing the best, and they are, I have them trellised and also on my end pot. And I'll scan back a little bit here. So these vines are all along the trellis, and I have mentioned I have some Mexican sunflower or tithonia over there on the end that's intermixing with the passion flower. But this vine is so wonderful in the summer, and I love how tall it grows. I love the coloring of the leaf. It just gets so lush and so thick. Next year, these Mexican sunflowers will not be here, and so I'll be able to see the passion flower. It's there all across the trellis, but the tithonia masks it a little bit. So I highly recommend these passion vines if you have a place in your yard that they can grow up, because you can see they do grow very tall, and they're just beautiful, and they just thrive in the summertime. Okay, on to the next one. My Mexican flame vine here started out as just a small nursery pot, and it is growing. I'm going to come up a little bit closer. This vine does so well, and it grows quite tall also. I have had 2 complete flushes, but they were in the springtime, and over the summer I have not had this Mexican flame vine flower. And so I'm curious because you are supposed to deadhead. It said deadhead to keep it blooming, and I do deadhead, but I must not deadhead it correctly because it just hasn't flushed out with blooms this summer. So maybe it's time to fertilize. I don't know. I know it's supposed to be a pretty good bloomer, and so far this summer I've not had great blooms, but it is growing very well, and I'm very happy with its growth. Now I just want it to continue to flower. The Mandevilla vine is right next to it, and it is also a beautiful grower this summer. It flushed out with gorgeous red blooms in the spring and early summer. I do have blooms, but not tons of blooms like it had in the summer. So I think it's time for me to fertilize the red Mandevilla here. You can see they're both probably about 7 feet tall. Our fence is 6.5 feet tall. So these two vines have just been beautiful growers and performers. Now I just want them to bloom a little better, so it must be fertilizer time. You've heard me speak about the coral honeysuckle, the native coral honeysuckle, and I really can't say enough about it. I love this vine, and it has grown really well, even in this heat that we've had. It's been so hot and so miserable, and this is kind of blooming, not a lot of blooms. It does have the berries. They're not ripe on it yet, but they will get berries. They did get berries in the spring. I'm assuming it's going to be flowering soonish once we, and I've got it over here on the side too, once we cool down. Oh, here's some of the older berries. The birds love these berries. And I do have this also trellised. My hummingbird visits the few flowers that I have on this every day. She loves the coral honeysuckle. She comes over here, even if I only have a few, there's only a few flowers blooming, she visits them all every day. It's fun to watch her because she really loves this vine. It is native to Texas, and I do want to point out one of the things that has been really tough this summer. As I've mentioned, we've had a really hot, excruciatingly hot summer, and this vine does not attach to, it doesn't have tendrils that attaches to like bricks or wood. It does climb, so if you provide a trellis, it will climb the trellis. If you don't, it will grow along the ground as a ground cover. But the nice thing about this is it shades the brick, and so it really helps with the brick and not heating up. And so what in the future I plan to do is add 1 or 2 more trellises along this side to have this huge bank of coral honeysuckle, which should really help the corner, this little corner that bakes like a sauna with the heat. And so I absolutely love, got a really pretty swallowtail back there. So this coral honeysuckle has been just wonderful this summer. So those are the 4 that I wanted to talk about this morning. I do want to mention the 5-panel cardinal climber that we have here, But I did a video on that, and I'm going to pan over this way and also along that fence. Love the cardinal climber. I will link that video up top because this is also a wonderful vining performer. All of what I've shown you are perennials down here except this one, and this one is an annual. And we grow that from seed. And the other vine I'll go and talk about a little bit later is way in the back, and it's right here. It's this light colored green vine, and that is a Cape honeysuckle, and that blooms beautifully in the late fall and winter. So I'm not going to concentrate on that for this video. So the vines I've shared with you have been beautiful performers in this heat. I have them planted in ground. I also have them planted in pots. And so I also have them in the ground back there. So the combinations work really well for the different areas that I have these vines in. So I'm going to pan over here and end on one of the bumblebees, just loving on the cottonleaf passion vine. So I want to thank you for joining me this morning, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Hope to see you soon.